Hey, welcome back guys. Will Robinson here from Robinson's Auto Tools and Time.com. Back here once again with another repair video. Today we have a 99 Honda Civic. One of the complaints I'm going to cover for you today is that the right front passenger window is inoperable. We're going to go in there, we're going to troubleshoot to see what's going on. Some past history. It's been to another garage. Had a failed attempt at repairing this issue. They replaced the window motor. I'm not sure what else they did, but a few people had their hands in there nonetheless. We're going to go in there, we're going to troubleshoot it, we're going to do it the right way before replacing parts. Did you expect anything less? Come on guys, I know we can fix it. Let's do it to it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just give you a quick demonstration of the symptom. Turn the key on. Okay. I hear nothing going down. However, I do hear something when I push up. I'm going to go over to the driver's side, toggle that switch, see what we got. That should be going down. Okay, I got nothing. Instead of pulling the whole door panel off, I'm just going to gain access to the back side of this switch. I'm going to do that simply by removing this plastic cover. If you come over here, I'm not going to move the camera around, but there's a little access hole for a clip that goes in behind the plastic and holds it in. So you just got to get in there and you just got to push back on that clip and pull the plastic off. Just like so. And you can tell this has been apart a few times. But there's your little access hole. This usually doesn't fall apart this easy. It's clipped in behind. So now we're going to gain access to the wires back here and we're going to do a little troubleshooting. In order to understand remotely what's going on here, we got to go look at a wiring schematic. So let's go see what's involved. I know offhand most of these are wired from the main switch coming over. It gets pretty complicated. However, we're going to try to make that simple for you guys today.
Okay, so first I'm going to start you off with the power distribution of the hot side of the circuit. So the positive side of the circuit, where it gets its 12 volt power. And then I'll step you over to ground and we'll go from there. I just wanted to try to break this down and try to make it a little bit easier to understand. I know this isn't going to be the best illustration, but just bear with me for a minute. So we'll start here at the power window fuse. This is the main fuse. This is where all the windows get their power from. Okay, so it comes down. If you follow here, highlight it in blue, it comes down to a relay. And it's on a main pole. So this relay has to get energized somehow in order for the windows to operate. Because as you see, you have this open contact right over here. And if you follow it up, that's what feeds the whole bank of fuses for each power window. Now we know we have our other windows are operating fine, so this fuse is evidently good. So there's no reason to check this fuse out. And it also eliminates this relay because it has a control side. If you come over here to the left and you follow my cursor, this is another fuse for your relay control. Okay, and that fuse is hot and on or start, as you can see illustrated at the top. Not sure if you can read that very well, but this fuse is hot with the key on. This fuse here is hot at all times. Okay, with that being said, you follow this down, you got your ground for your relay control. So when you turn your key on, these contacts will close over here by my cursor. Once this closes, it'll take this hot from this fuse that's hot at all times, come around and feed your bank of fuses. What I have highlighted is just the right front window that we're having problems with. So if you come down here, you'll see that it tees off. It goes two separate routes. This route, it goes all the way over to the passenger side control switch for your window. So this is located on your passenger door. If you follow this one, the lower rung conductor, it comes down to your driver's side door. So let's start over here at the driver's side door. You can take notice that it comes down and it's an open contact on each side. So that's not sending power through any of these other conductors. It's just simply sitting here unless you mechanically move that switch. If you follow this one over, it's doing the same as well. Let's take a look at the ground side. The ground side of the circuit starts out over here by the left kick panel. There's a common ground. I'm just going to color this black. And it comes up to a master switch. Right now we're over at the driver's door master switch for the power windows. Okay, you'll find on that switch that there's a on-off that controls the passenger windows. And pretty much what that does, it pretty much puts them out of service when you switch it off. And when you put them on, it closes this contact and allows ground to go to the remaining 3 windows. Now the driver's window, that has a different circuit, and as you can see over here, it has its own ground. But we're going to leave that out of the equation right now. So as long as this switch is in the on position, it applies ground to this whole bottom bank. Okay. The one we're worried about is the passenger window. As you can see, it uses these 2 poles. And when this switch isn't applied, you see these contacts are closed, both laying on the ground pole. So let's take and follow these 2 conductors. Just bear with me for a moment, guys. I'm going to use this as a color reference. If we follow that over to this switch, as you can see, it's the blue with yellow. We'll just keep going back and forth as a color reference. So that goes to terminal number 5, which is blue with yellow tracer. Whenever you see the first, see how it has a BLU and then a slash YEL? Well, the first one is the main color. So the wire is going to be mainly blue, and it'll have a yellow tracer on it, meaning it'll have a thin yellow line. So we follow this blue with yellow tracer all the way over. And it goes through this switch. As you see, that contact is closed. And over here, I know I cut it out of the picture, but this is your power window motor. This is where the contacts land. And also, if you noticed, it said down right here on this contact. So when it's in a down position, like we're trying to get this window to do, this contact is always closed, even with no mechanical movement of that switch, because this is a normally closed contact. So as you can see here, from 5 to 4, with this closed contact, we should be applying ground to this blue with red tracer. Even in a down position, this stays closed. We also see that we're applying ground through this conductor. Which is also always closed. So we take a look at that. In a resting position with no mechanical movement of either switch, we're always applying ground to both sides of that motor. It's just waiting for one side of this motor to go hot, and it will go in that direction. Because if you reverse any leads on a DC motor, it will reverse direction. So as you can see, the wire coming over was the blue with orange tracer. That's coming over from the other side. It's coming down. It's always closed, as you see, in the off position. That means no mechanical movement. It's a normally closed. And we got ground going to both sides of that motor. Okay, here we are back at the right front passenger window switch. If we take a look, as you can see, still highlighted in blue. Don't mind the highlighting color, guys. That's just a default. But we know that the blue with yellow tracer, number 5, There's a ground coming from the other side. And so is the blue with orange tracer. They're both normally closed when a switch isn't mechanically pressed. So this is this normal position just sitting there. So with this closed, we determine we have our grounds being applied to this window motor. What happens to make this window motor move? Because it's evidently not going to move with two grounds. It needs a hot and a ground. So what we got to do is mechanically move this switch. So how this schematic is laying it out is where it says down. Those are the contacts that are going to be closed when the switch is mechanically pressed in the down position. Therefore, this ground is going to be remained grounded. This contact is not going to move. The only contact that's going to move will be this one. It's going to switch to the down position. So this one would go from here and be switched over to this hot one. So we're going to take away the ground because this will no longer be in line. We'll be pulling power from our green with black conductor. It'll be coming down here. Our ground's going to be applied through the blue with red conductor. This switch is going to close, which is going to pull this contact into this contact and apply a hot positive 12 volts to this side of the motor, to the blue with red conductor. So okay, we figured out how to make the window go down. Now when we go up, when you look at the schematic, the way it's illustrated is in the up position, this contact is going to switch over to this side, and this one's going to remain grounded. So we would then be taking this ground away. This one's always going to be on this contact, number 4. This is the terminal for number 4, so this is always going to remain the same. However, we're going to take and switch this contact over to this contact, which is our 12 volts. We will no longer have this ground in the circuit. We'll be putting 12 volts to lead number 4, which is the blue with red. So this will become your hot side, and your ground side will stay closed. Applying the ground to the side of the motor, which is opposite. So as you can see, I got highlighted in black. It comes down from the bottom, hits this contact. As long as your master switch is closed, it continues to this run. Okay, there's 2 sets of contacts. They're both normally closed to these 2 conductors. Okay, so they're normally closed in this position. If I take and I leave the switch in down, as you can see illustrated here, it says down, this will remain closed as long as I pull the switch to the down position. But as you can see, it says up right here. That means if I take and I pull the switch to the up position, this contact is going to open, removing this ground from the circuit and switching that conductor over to hot. So what you just seen take place when you switch this to the up position, this stayed grounded. This conductor stayed grounded because as you can see it illustrated, it says up, so that one's going to remain in that position. That one's going to remain closed. The only contact that's going to switch is this contact over here, which will then be completed like so. Hence, turning this conductor into a hot.
Hopefully the way I'm explaining this is coming through to you guys and making sense. I'm having a little difficulty trying to lay this out in this fashion with the schematic. My best way to teach would be to lay this out, say on a bench, in real time, with real switches, with real mechanical everything pulled out of the, and laid out on a bench. And then I can show you hands-on, mechanically, how this operates. But using the schematic.
Now this conductor just became a hot positive wire going to the motor. This side remained grounded because, as you see in the up position, this one's still closed. And as you can see, that'll be putting your motor up. Now what happens when we switch it to the down position? Well, in the down position, it's doing just the opposite. This one will remain closed. So this conductor keeps your ground, as you can see, down. The one that will switch, it'll take this conductor, as you can see it says down over here, and it'll switch it over to this side. So with this conductor switched over, it just removed the ground from this contact. And just turn this conductor into your hot. As you know, these contacts are normally closed in this position. And this ground remained closed. And now we'll be putting our window down. So as you can see, it just simply reverses with the mechanical movement of this switch. So hopefully you get the picture of how that's working. It's just a mechanical movement of those contacts creating the path of what you see. Okay, so what happens if someone on the passenger side goes and changes this switch over here? What's going to happen? Well, that's why we share this ground, is for protection, so you're not short-circuiting anything. Okay, let's look at this schematic for a minute. This is the front passenger window switch. And as you've seen, we were putting the window down in the last illustration. So what happens on this switch right here? Okay, it's coming around. Our ground is coming through this blue with yellow conductor. We determined that on the last illustration. And it's normally closed. However, in the down position, this is closed on the main switch on the driver's door. So we're sending our ground around through the blue with yellow conductor, coming from the main switch, coming through this normally closed contact, and going out on number 4, which are blue and red conductor, and it's applying our ground to this number 4 pin on our motor. And then we determine, even though this is hot, as long as the key's on, we're not using that hot wire. We're simply controlling this from the main switch on the driver's side. So we turn this conductor, the blue with orange tracer, into a hot. This is our 12-volt positive. So now it's coming from the driver's side main door, coming down to pin number 2, which is our blue with orange tracer, following this contact down. It's normally closed, so it's going to continue going, and then it's going to apply hot to this side of the window motor, which is our blue with white tracer, pin number 2. And now our window's going down. So, okay, why do we share a ground? It's simply a protection in the circuit, so we're not shorting anything out. So if I take and say there's 2 people in the vehicle, the driver is putting the window down, and now the passenger operator, he decides he wants to put the window up. Well, if you do that both and you're wired direct, what's going to happen? It's going to short it out. You're going to blow a fuse or whatnot, or even worse. So what they do, they share the ground. And as you know, our ground's coming across, coming through this conductor. So as soon as that passenger operator goes and tries to put the window up while the driver's side is going down, what's it going to do? Well, we know that this is normally closed in the down position or in the idle position. What happens when you mechanically move the switch to the up position? As you can see right here, it's going to take and it's going to open that ground. So now the window is just going to stop operating. it's not going to do nothing, because you just, by mechanically moving that switch, you remove that ground. Even though I still got a ground coming over from the driver's side, it's not going through this contact anymore, because I just lifted that switch up off of that contact and it removed that ground from the motor. So it's simply not going to do anything. Really, what it's going to do is, because we have our hot coming from the other side, so this is going to remain closed. This contact's going to switch over to the hot side, and we know we have our 12 volt positive coming in here as long as our relay and our key's on and everything's functioning properly. We will have 12 volts here. It's going to apply this contact over to the up position, and you're simply going to have 12 volts positive on both sides of the motor, which isn't going to harm anything. The main thing is that you don't want a ground and a positive hitting at the same terminal at the same time. So they simply wire it in series like this to prevent any short circuiting. I hope that makes sense.
Okay guys, so now we have a basic idea of what's going on. What should we test first? Should we test the motor? We know that's been replaced. We could go about seeing if we have continuity on the motor, tell us if the brushes are good, tell if our connections are good going down to the motor. However, there's a few different ways we can go about this.